It's James Murray. We're sitting in the Net News Ledger newsroom. I'm here with Jamie from N Crantz Coffee Roasters. We're not drinking coffee, but we're going to be talking coffee. Jamie, in Thunder Bay, coffee is doing its own huge recovery and huge change from, your Tim Hortons cup, your Robbins cup, or your Starbucks cup. People are starting to become coffee connoisseurs. What's happening?
Well, you can attribute that mostly to things with the third wave of coffee, things coming out of Seattle and Washington and so on. Basically, people are starting to enjoy the West Coast, the dark roast coffee, and we can attribute that to Starbucks, but now people are starting to realize that coffee actually has some really great flavors. And so people want that great flavor. They don't want just the regular or decaf that you can get in a diner. You don't want those things that have been sitting on the burner for 4 or 5 hours. They want something fresh. They want something tasty. They don't want something bitter and that they have to choke down at the end.
So in making or brewing a really good cup of coffee, what happens?
Ooh, that's a big question. Basically, what I tell everybody is you need to start with a really good grind. So start with a burr grinder. Start with something that will grind the coffee evenly. After that, there are so many different ways of brewing coffee. You can do the espresso brews, you can do the AeroPress, pour over, French press, anything along those lines. So you want to start with a really good grind, then you want to start with some really good water, and then from there, it's all up to you.
Now, what kind of coffees in Thunder Bay are gaining a lot of popularity in the specialty coffee world?
Well, you just hit it there, actually. Specialty coffee is starting to really become big in Thunder Bay.
So what is a specialty coffee? I mean, is that a flavored coffee, French vanilla flavored coffee?
No.
Or
specialty coffee is coffee that when it is cupped or tasted at the table, so there's a big process where they take a bunch of coffees and they smell it and they do a whole bunch of other really nifty things. Once they do all that tasting and they score it out of 100, it cups above 80. So anything that cups above 80 is considered to be a specialty coffee. So most, if not all of the roasters here in town will use specialty coffee pretty much exclusively. Things like Starbucks and Tim Hortons and other places like that typically don't use specialty coffee. It's too expensive. It does cost a premium to get coffee that tastes that good. But the idea behind it is you're going to get a lot more flavor out of it. You're not going to get those sour notes. You're not going to get the bitterness, things like that.
So in terms of the process in your company, you're getting a coffee bean, comes into Thunder Bay.
Green.
What happens?
So we get our coffee green. It comes from all over the world. So we get it from anywhere in the coffee producing world that's, I guess, near the equator is really the best place for it. Usually high up. Gets into our shop, and then we will develop a roast. So we'll test roast it several times, and we'll come up with how fast we should roast it, how long we should roast it, how high a temperature we should roast it. And then once we've figured out what that profile should be and we nail it down, we offer that out to the public. So essentially what happens in N Crantz Roasting Company, we use something called a fluid bed roaster, which is essentially an industrial strength hot air popcorn popper. So it fires hot air through the beans. So it takes 2 pounds of beans and it fires hot air through it, and it creates a little fountain of beans. And over a certain amount of time, it will roast them to perfection.
Now, there's been a lot of move afoot in recent months, from a lot of the coffee chains to bring in a dark roast coffee. What is a dark roast coffee?
A dark roast coffee is a bit of a subjective thing. So in the specialty coffee world, we tend to use a grading system that starts from something called City to City Plus, Full City Plus, and then you get into the Vienna and Italian roasts. A dark roast tends to be, in my experience, tends to be a Full City or Vienna roast, where you see the oils on the outside of the beans and so on. This is a remnant of the West Coast dark coffee movement, so you see those coming out of California. People are no longer wanting that as much as they used to. It used to be that was the bold flavor that you were getting out of the dark roast, and you're getting really the bitterness of the roast. So as you roast coffee, the darker it gets, the less flavor you're getting from the bean, more you're getting the flavor of the roast.
Wow.
So whatever roaster you're using, you're imparting those flavors on it. So what we do at N Crantz is we actually try to roast on the lighter side. So we roast into City or City Plus, which is, if somebody wants to look it up, it's just past first crack. So when the beans are processing, they will snap like popcorn. And at that point, that's when you can pull them off of the roaster. That would be a city roast once they've finished that first level. And then basically from there, you're trying to get that perfect mix of origin flavor and then roast flavor. So as you get darker and darker, the origin flavor will fall off and the roast flavor will start to increase. So you're trying to find that perfect symmetry between origin and roast flavor.
So once you've got your bean roasted and you've now ground it in a burr grinder, you know, no offense to the guys we were talking earlier, the little push the button and the blades spin around and you chop up your coffee.
Blade grinders, yes.
What process at home, if you want the ultimate cup of coffee, you know, and you probably get asked all the time, oh man, you must drink coffee all day long because you're around it.
No, I drink 1 cup of coffee a day and I really, really enjoy it.
And that's probably a little bit, you know, if you think back to, say, you know, Thanksgiving last week, mom or grandma or family making turkey, the whole house filled with the aroma of the cooking foods. And usually by the time dinner's ready, mom's not hungry. It's almost like the flavor, she's taken it all in and breathed it all in all day. And now, you know, in coffee, one of the keys there is the aroma of a good cup of coffee.
Coffee is, the taste of coffee is 75% aromatic or olfactory. So you're actually getting it through your nasal passage and your sinuses. So as you drink coffee, the coffee will go through and you'll get some basically smell that will go up through your nasal passages in your mouth. But really, it's the act of bringing the cup to your mouth, just like wine. So that's why wine glasses are all shaped the way that they are.
Yes.
Coffee is exactly the same way, where you're going to get the flavor coming through your nose. And that's really what people are missing when they get the lid on their cup. And so in coffee, that's another one of the big things when you're tasting is, does the aroma suit you? Is it gonna, how does it mix with the flavor? How does it mix with the flavors that are going across your taste buds? So it's a very complicated, you know, mess of things, but in the end.
So basically your job is to do the complicated stuff.
Yeah.
So that you at home can literally be going, okay, I'm having a cup of coffee. Or in the restaurant world, and you were saying that's a lot of your business is different restaurants and different specialty shops in town doing coffee.
So what we do is, one of the services we actually offer is we will go into a restaurant, we will calibrate their machines, we will get the grind to the proper ratio of grinds to water, which, by the way, if anybody wants to know, start with a 17-to-1 water to grounds ratio by weight. So don't use a measuring cup. Use a scale. That's very important because different coffees weigh differently and different roasts weigh differently. So that's a big one. But yeah, we'll go into a restaurant and we will calibrate their machines. We'll get it down to something that is fairly innocuous, or it's fairly what's the word?
Maybe workable for the staff?
Yeah, it's basically, it's a baseline for what they're going to do with their coffee. Right. So it's not going to be overly complicated, but it's going to make a really great cup of coffee time and time again. And we talk about things like cleaning the machines. We talk about cleaning the urns that they're putting in, not keeping the coffee for too long. Typically, you want to drink the coffee within 15 minutes of brewing. There's all sorts of rules that you can get into with specialty coffee. If you really want to get into them, it can get really pretentious really quickly. Ultimately, at N Crantz Roasting Company, we don't believe in that. We believe in this. Love the coffee you drink and drink the coffee you love. Really, however you like your coffee, you should be drinking it that way.
So as we head into Small Business Week, you know, you're one of the small businesses that's starting to grow and thrive here in Thunder Bay.
Absolutely, we're actually doing an expansion right now. We've ordered a new roaster. We're expanding our facilities a little bit, and we're getting some funding hopefully to expand into the more of a regional aspect. So I'm hoping to get across Northwestern Ontario, not just stay in Thunder Bay. There's been a lot of questions from people in the region, the smaller cities around Thunder Bay and in the region, so we're hoping to service them.
Now, I'm going out for a coffee after this. Where should I go that I can try N Crantz coffee?
We offer our coffee in several different places. We're in downtown Fort William. So what I would, or I guess the South Core, I guess we can't call
Yes.
it Fort William anymore.
We still call it Fort William.
There you go. But in the South Core, you can go to Excuria. Excuria is serving our
Yes.
coffee, and they're doing coffee drinks based on our coffee. And in the North Core, there's several different places. Sweet Escape Cake Cafe and Bakery. You can pick up our coffee. You can also sample our coffee. But if you like an espresso drink, I really highly recommend going down to Espresso Joya.
Right down at 10 South Cumberland Street.
That's right across from Gargoyles, I believe.
Yes.
So yeah.
And where do people find you online? If we've got readers and viewers now who are going, oh my God, I've got to get really good coffee, where do they go?
www.rnccoffee.ca.
Thank you for coming in and sharing.
No problem.
Next time you come in, I'm going to insist you bring some coffee because you've got
Absolutely.
me all fired up for it now.
We'll make some coffee. We'll do a whole presentation here.
Perfect. I'm James in the Net News Ledger newsroom, now craving coffee really badly with Jamie from N Crantz Brewing.